The storm had arrived without warning, blanketing the quiet mountain town in a sea of white. Roads vanished, power lines collapsed, and silence settled in like a thick fog. But as nature raged outside, a curious little boy stepped into the cold, drawn by something he couldn't explain. That's when he saw it. Something buried beneath the snow, barely moving. Nestled deep in the mountains, the small town of Elk Hollow was used to harsh winters. But nothing like this. The storm had roared in overnight, cutting off power, closing roads, and trapping families inside their homes. 8-year-old Liam Parker was one of those kids, restless, adventurous, and never one to sit still. While his parents tried to keep warm by the fireplace, Liam felt pulled toward the snow-covered backyard, his boots crunching quietly as he stepped outside. Everything looked frozen in time, but something near the edge of the woods caught his eye. A strange bump in the snow. He squinted. It wasn't there yesterday, and something deep in his gut told him it needed help. Liam trudged through the snow, each step heavier than the last as the cold bit through his boots. The strange mound ahead looked like nothing more than a lump of ice at first, but something about it, its shape maybe, felt different. He reached out with his mitten-covered hand and brushed away the top layer of snow. That's when he saw it. Fur. Thick, ice-covered fur. His heart skipped. Was it a wild animal? Or worse, was it dead? He dug faster, hands shaking. A face slowly emerged, a dog's face. Its eyes barely open, glazed with frost, and a faint, almost pleading whimper escaped its lips. That's when Liam noticed the vest. Half buried beneath the snow, a patch peeked through. K9 unit. This wasn't just any dog, it was a police dog. Injured, freezing, and somehow still alive. Liam's breath caught in his throat. He had to do something. Now Liam bolted back to the house, slipping and stumbling through the snow. Bursting through the door, he screamed for his parents, breathless and wide-eyed. There's a dog, a police dog, it's alive, but it's freezing. At first they didn't believe him, but something in his voice, raw, urgent, convinced them. Minutes later, emergency services were on the way. Volunteers, rescue workers, and a local officer fought through the snow to reach the spot Liam had marked with his red scarf. Carefully, they lifted the K9 from the snowbank, wrapping it in blankets, their faces grim but hopeful. The dog, weak and trembling, kept glancing toward the woods, letting out faint barks between shallow breaths. One officer leaned in, puzzled. He's trying to tell us something, he muttered. Then it clicked. The dog wasn't just trying to survive, he was leading them. Something or someone was still out there, and time was running out. Wrapped in blankets and placed gently on a stretcher, the K9 dog struggled to stand. But the moment his paws touched the snow, he pulled forward, barking hoarsely, limping toward the trees. The officers exchanged glances. There was no mistaking it. He was leading them somewhere. 2 rescue workers, a police officer, and Liam's father followed behind, their boots crunching in rhythm with the wind. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. Only the dog's urgent movements and occasional bark pierced the silence. After nearly half a mile, they began to see signs, broken branches, footprints, drag marks half covered by snow. The trail was chaotic, but it was recent. Suddenly, the dog stopped near a large snowdrift. He barked, whined, and began digging furiously, ignoring his pain. Snow flew in every direction, revealing what looked like fabric. Torn clothing, maybe. The rescuers rushed forward. Something, or someone, was buried there. Hearts pounded. No one spoke. Everyone just dug. The rescuers dug with bare hands, not waiting for shovels. Every handful of snow they cleared revealed more. A torn sleeve, a boot, then a pale hand. Gasps filled the frozen air. It was a man. He wasn't moving. His skin blue from cold. But when one rescuer pressed fingers to his neck, he shouted, "He's alive! Faint pulse!" Just beside him, buried under his arm like he'd been shielding her, was a little girl, no older than 6. Her lips were trembling, her eyes fluttering. The K9 whimpered and nudged her face gently, as if urging her to wake up. The officer recognized them instantly. That's the Henderson family. They've been missing for days. They were kidnapped, he said, voice shaking. It all started to make sense. The K-9 must have tracked them down during a confrontation with the kidnapper. Wounded and left behind, he stayed with them, keeping them warm, refusing to leave. Instead of giving up, the dog crawled through a blizzard for miles to find help. And now, because of him and a brave little boy, 2 lives had been saved. The impossible had just become reality, and the town would never be the same. By nightfall, word had spread like wildfire. News vans rolled into Elk Hollow, their headlights cutting through the snow as reporters scrambled to cover the miracle rescue. People emerged from their homes, gathering outside the small clinic where the man and girl were being treated. Inside, doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize them. They were frostbitten, dehydrated, and weak, but alive. Tears flowed freely among nurses and neighbors alike. The girl clutched the dog's paw even in her sleep, as if afraid to let go of her hero. The mayor made a public statement, voice cracking with emotion. This K-9, despite his injuries, fulfilled his duty beyond anything we could imagine. And young Liam, he listened when others might have ignored. A special medal ceremony was announced. The entire town agreed. This story wasn't just about survival. It was about bravery, instinct, and the quiet courage of those who never give up, no matter how small or wounded they may be. A few days later, when the snow began to melt and the sun finally peeked through the clouds, Liam visited the animal clinic. The K-9, now resting, bandaged but alert, lifted his head as soon as the boy entered. His tail thumped softly against the floor. Liam approached slowly, holding out a treat in his small hand. "You saved them," he whispered. "You're a real hero." The dog nudged him gently, eyes soft, as if recognizing the boy who had saved him too. The town had named the K-9 Shadow for how he had silently tracked danger through the storm, and from that day on, Shadow and Liam were inseparable. Wherever Liam went, Shadow followed. 2 unlikely heroes, forever bonded by courage, snow, and a moment that changed everything. In a world full of noise, it was their quiet bravery that spoke the loudest. Some stories are loud, filled with sirens, headlines, and applause. But others, like this one, whisper their way into our hearts. It wasn't just a rescue. It was a reminder. Sometimes the smallest voices and the quietest actions make the biggest impact. Shadow, the wounded K-9, had every reason to give up. Lost, injured, alone in a blizzard. Yet he chose to fight. Not for himself, but for others. He stayed by the kidnapped family, warming them with his body, guarding them through the night, then crawling toward hope when all seemed lost. And Liam, a curious, brave little boy, trusted his gut when most would have walked past the snow-covered shape. His courage helped bring light to a place swallowed by darkness. Today, the town of Elk Hollow holds their story close. A statue now stands in the town square, a boy and a dog facing the wind together, because heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear collars and snow boots and carry the heart of a lion. And sometimes all it takes is one step into the snow to change everything.